Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's COP30 press briefing. Joining us today are Ambassador André Corrêa do Lago, COP30 President, and Ana Toni, COP30 CEO. With that, I'm pleased to turn it over to Ambassador André Corrêa do Lago.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all. I think we had a very, very intense day of negotiation. You probably saw the movement based on the publication of the document this morning. I imagine that you're going to have questions about that. I just want to mention one issue, which is that I received some comments because of the issue of gender, and I received a letter by Women and Gender Constituency. And I want to clarify something. The two packages, the package that we can call the midweek package and the Friday package, they are not, one is not a priority considered to the other. So there was a misunderstanding in the letter, although the letter is far from perfect. So it is not that we had priority issues. In my letter, I say that it is prioritize the work of interrelated and interdependent themes. So that's why gender is a negotiation that is happening and is not interdependent on the approval of other issues. So it is cross-cutting, obviously, because gender for us is completely cross-cutting. But the negotiation of the text of gender and climate change is not interdependent or interrelated to the first package. That's why it is in the second package. So it is completely a complete priority for us, gender, total priority, and it is going to be in the second group because the first group is related to the texts that are interrelated and interdependent. And I want to comment, by the way, that we are advancing in the discussion of gender and climate change, and you probably know that today started the consultations, and we have two ministers, the Minister of Sweden and the Minister of Chile, that have started today consultations towards an agreement on the text about gender and climate change. So I just wanted to clarify this. Second, I would like also to clarify that the themes that are being negotiated together with the text that was published today, we can give the list if you need, because some of you have asked me about some themes that are in the second package or in the first package. We can put it clearly for you if you want to. We had a series of consultations today with groups, and the groups have told us that the document, the text that we presented today at 8 in the morning was a base for working. So we are working with this text and with the other texts that are being, the other decisions that are being also, there is a discussion being led by ministers. And so if you want to know also about those ministers that are consulting to make sure that these documents are approved, I can also enter into that. So, that's it. You want to say something to start? No.
The only thing I want to add is that we have 119 NDCs today. So one more. Today Mexico has communicated the NDC.
And we are pleased to be joined by COP30 negotiator, Ambassador Liliam Chagas. And with that, we can open up for questions. We'll take 2 questions. We can go over here to first. Yes, please. Oh, sorry, him, then her. Thank you.
Thank you. Seth Borenstein, the Associated Press. 2 questions, if you don't mind, from me. First, what is President Lula's schedule with the COP and negotiations tomorrow? And second, in the midweek package, what is the greatest, which of those 4 issues are you getting the greatest pushback from the text that you put out this morning?
We can take a question for a colleague there.
Yeah. Thais Gadelara from Climatic and Info Amazonia. And here. Yeah, it's not about the roadmap on finance, André. It's another question. But if I understood properly, if the first package is about the multi-DAO decision and all the other draft texts that were released today, why tomorrow, probably at the morning, we are only going to see a new text on the multi-DAO decision and not others? Is this because this is more like a political reason because President Lula is going to be here? Or because they are the 4 items in which there are a lot of different positions between parties? Thank you.
So President Lula's schedule, it's being developed, but President Lula will meet tomorrow some of the negotiating groups, and he will also have some other activities in Belem, but the final schedule is not published yet. Maybe you want to answer about the texts. Eh?
Hello, good evening. We had consultations throughout the day regarding the first drafts of the multi-round decision, and one clear thing that we got is that for almost all the groups, or for everybody, that is a base to continue to work. So we continue to work with parties on the text. As you saw, there are parts with different options. So we got an assessment from them, general assessment about the text, the preferred options, and also the interlinkages of some of the issues that are there, like trade, NDCs, that are also in the other texts. You know, for coherency, we'll have to tackle these issues in a comprehensive way. I think that there was a lot of discussions and comments on the part of finance for adaptation. That's what we can say for now.
Yes, and as we know, we want this to be an adaptation COP. The DGA is absolutely central, and obviously the push for an increase in adaptation resources is significant.
Thank you. We can go over there to our colleague in the front.
Hi, Jake Spring with the Washington Post. Sorry to continue the questions about roadmaps from yesterday, but I've heard the concept of the roadmap in the text to transition away from fossil fuels likened to almost like an NDC, like a target almost. So I wanted to ask, is that your understanding of what this concept is? And that seems like a pretty big ask. Can you give any sense of what the reaction in the room is if this is the case, what you're asking for in terms of roadmaps to transition away from fossil fuels? Thank you.
We can go over to the colleague in the front here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rodrigo Lopes. I'm a local journalist. I needed to do this question in Portuguese because this is about the Brazilian broadcast cover for the COP. Eu sou de veículo local chamado Amazônia International Business, focado em negócios e a cadeia turística aqui em Belém, na região. E é evidente que a imprensa nacional, sobretudo em especial a do Sudeste, construiu uma campanha destrutiva em relação à imagem de Belém ao longo de todo o preparo, que ignorando todos os esforços da população de Belém para realizar um grande evento. E isso criou uma atmosfera de xenofobia contra o povo paraense e que se consumou, inclusive, com a fala do chanceler, aquela fala desastrosa do chanceler alemão, que provavelmente se sentiu confortável para falar aquilo diante do que a própria mídia brasileira já fazia. Então, eu queria saber se existe um posicionamento oficial dos organizadores da COP30 para dar uma resposta à própria mídia brasileira e ao mundo que nos acompanha agora a partir de Belém. Muito obrigado.
So, regarding your question, today was a day in which we received the inputs from the delegations. And so we have some delegations that support that item, and there are some delegations that are very reluctant regarding that paragraph. So, but today is an exercise of receiving the inputs, and so what I can tell you is that we have the two categories, basically, either very favorable and some very negative. Com relação a Belém, tem tanta coisa boa sendo dita sobre Belém, tem tanta coisa boa sendo dita sobre a COP, que a gente não tem que ouvir o que essas pessoas que não estão sabendo como apreciar, não temos que ligar para isso, não. Nós estamos acima disso.
Posso comentar também? Oi, eu vou falar em português, já que você perguntou em português. Eu posso dar um testemunho de quem está 12 horas por dia com os delegados estrangeiros, e eles comentam que eles estão encantados com a cidade, aproveitando muito a música, a culinária e, sobretudo, a simpatia da população local. É isso que está encantando eles aqui. É claro que os que vêm de temperaturas muito frias nessa época do ano estão estranhando o calor, mas é normal e mesmo para nós, né, eu que vivo em Brasília, que tem o ar é muito seco, a umidade aqui né, gera uma sensação de calor. Mas os comentários voluntários das delegações estrangeiras para nós são de que estão encantados com a cidade, com a culinária, com a comida e principalmente com a simpatia, com a abertura do povo local em querer ajudar, em tentar falar inglês. Os comentários assim são muito, muito positivos.
E além do mais, o que deveria viralizar é o vídeo do ministro da Polônia, o Chris Bolesta, que cai no samba no meio de uma rua, está absolutamente encantado e que eu acho realmente o que reflete o que as pessoas estão achando de Belém.
And we can take 2 more questions here in the front.
Benjamin Lejeune from AFP. Is it the objective of the Brazilian presidency that all countries leave Belem with a commitment to draw their own national roadmap to transition away from fossil fuels?
And in the second row here.
Hi, Lucas Parolin from Argus Media. Also on the roadmap to phase out fossil fuels, you mentioned some countries, there's a negotiating bloc of countries that are reluctant to, on that text. What do you think it's going to take for them to start seeing it the other way and start approving texts?
I think that we can have very different interpretations of what needs to enter formal documents that are going to be approved by consensus and what we can implement with what has already been approved. And I think this is somehow a leitmotif of this COP, is how much we want to distinguish between what is negotiating, what has to be negotiated, and what can already be implemented. And I think that one of the great results of this COP, and we are seeing this here in the blue zone and the green zone, is how many examples of solutions and examples of actions and examples of implementation we are seeing all over the world. Both in developing countries and in developed countries. So I think that there are some analysts and some people that believe that we need to negotiate more text about some of the issues. This is something that sometimes divide countries. I mean, you don't need necessarily to have a document approved by consensus to implement something that is already has been approved in other COPs. So, when you asked about developing countries, no, or developed countries, in general, yeah. I'm going to come back to the sentence that we have in our NDC, which relates to developed countries taking the lead. So, but there are many other elements regarding a possible roadmap or how we're going to implement the transitioning away from fossil fuels with solutions that are appropriate for each country. So I believe that what we really need, and we have done this exercise here in Brazil, we have started this exercise in Brazil, is to see the economic and social implications of the transitioning away for each country, for each region of the country, because in Brazil you have very different circumstances according to the region. So I believe first that developed countries have to take the leads, and I believe also that we need to know more about the implications, and that's why just transition is also such an important theme in this COP.
And we can take 2 more questions. If anyone, please raise your hand. You can go over to the gentleman in the second row.
Hello, John Martin from Agencia F. Sorry again about the roadmap. Do you see there were some countries earlier today calling for stronger language on the roadmap? Do you see room for more ambition, or is that the maximum you think you can get at this time, given the resistances you find from other countries? And are you still expecting to vote tomorrow?
And we can take a question in the second row there.
Hi, I don't know if he just asked that, but are you still expecting to close the Mutirão decision tomorrow?
Well, yeah, tomorrow can be very late. So, I missed something in the beginning of what you said. Can you repeat the beginning?
I said that earlier today there were some countries like Colombia and Marshall Islands that were asking for stronger language on the roadmap. So do you think there is room for more ambition, or is that the maximum you're hoping for?
What the text reflects is something that opens the door and is between these extremes. As I said, most of the countries are either very favorable or it's a red line. No? As you know, the expression red line is used quite frequently in these negotiations, which are things that the country or the groups believe that cannot be surpassed. So, yes, it is natural that those that favor this could expect something more ambitious. But then when you negotiate, you go in one direction or another direction. Let's see how it evolves.
Yeah, regarding the possibility of approval tomorrow, I just wanted to add that many delegations were surprised to have such a text in so short time. Normally, a draft like this, with the views of the parties that were discussed only 1 week here in Belem, appears in the very end of the conference. But as I explained it here, we decided to accelerate the mode of work, invite parties to work on a task force mode in a climate mutirão. And so many delegations told us that they were surprised that we produced such a draft on a Tuesday morning. It was issued this morning at 8:30 a.m. So also what is in the letter for parties from this week, the deal is to approve as a package the Mutirão decision with all 7 or 10 other decisions. including the indicators for adaptation, the mitigation work program, the technology implementation program. So it's a package. It's not only the Mutirão decision. It's the Mutirão decision with a group of decisions who have some issues related to the issues of finance, NDCs, and the finance for adaptation that are related. So that was the criteria for the package that we will try to approve tomorrow. So if we get the Mutirão decision for tomorrow, it means that we will get the others decisions as well. And if it's by any chance it's not possible, we still have more time to get the package, the entire package of decisions. So it's the Mutirão plus that were mentioned in the letter.
I just want to, on the question that you just asked about the roadmap on fossil fuel, the language that is on the Mutirão, you mentioned that some countries felt us weak. We did consultations with all the groups. We heard the opposite that you're saying. We heard from most of the groups, a great majority of the groups that we heard that this is a red line for them, either because some of the groups don't want that type of language on fossil fuel, or because other groups don't want any more obligations of having to do things, and they will be asked. Many developing countries even said that this is an extra obligation to have to do things, and they don't want an extra obligation independently on which topic. So we haven't heard that what you brought to us, we didn't hear on the negotiation groups with the countries that we talked to. I just want to also today there was other things than on the negotiation. There was the action agenda continued being very, very strong here. I wanted to highlight just a few things. We had absolutely wonderful meeting about the synergies of the three conventions: biodiversity, climate change, and land and desertification. There was a statement made by COP30 Presidency with the COP16 on biodiversity and desertification, as well as COP17 on the desertification and biodiversity, of a whole work together on the action agenda. So a lot on land restoration, reforestation, which was really incredible to see the three action agendas on the three conventions coming together. So I wanted to highlight that. There was also a good, very powerful meeting about the Mutirão of youth. It was packed with a lot of examples of things that youth groups are doing in their own communities. Again, reforestation was one of the key topics, that you have a big Mutirão of youth groups working all over the world on reforestation in their own communities. And finally, I wanted to highlight the high-level dialogue on adaptation with ministers that brought again the importance of this COP to advance on adaptation. There was a high-level ministerial meeting that was open today, and again the topic of adaptation, especially adaptation finance, was the big topic. And finally, I just remember one more, was the ethical globe stocktake, a very powerful meeting on the ethical globe stocktake with Ministra Marina Silva, Mary Robertson, and many, Bachelet and many others that has helped on the ethical globe stocktake, well, with already many plans on how they're going to be working on the globe stocktake next year. So I just wanted to mention those other issues that has happened today.
And that concludes our press conference. I'd like to thank you all for joining. Also, thanks to our speakers. Thank you.